We've already accomplished once today. Mr. Schulte?
Here.
Mr. Loring?
Here.
Mr. Helmers?
Here.
Mr. DeBoer?
Here.
I'm here. We would look at the agenda for our regular meeting.
Seems strange.
March 25, 2025. Agenda can be considered.
Anything else? I'll make a motion for the agenda.
I'll support it.
A motion from Helmer, support from DeBoer for approval of today's agenda as it was provided. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Next, we look at our minutes from yesterday's meeting, March 24.
I'll make a motion for the March 24th meeting.
Support.
Motion from DeBoer and support from Schulte for approval of the minutes from the March 24 meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Next, we would look at the April schedule. And we do have a 9:30 item that discusses jail remodel groundbreaking. I don't know if we want to keep that in mind as we discuss the schedule.
I mean, besides that, there's nothing 8th and the 22nd. If you guys are okay having our public hearing on our budgets on the 22nd of April, then we shouldn't need an additional meeting for anything besides that.
So we need the 8th and 22nd for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion on those two dates. Good.
Motion from Schulte, support from Loring for the 8th and the 22nd as the April schedule. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of setting that April schedule signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Hard to believe we're going into April already.
First item listed is discuss proposed nuisance ordinance.
Good morning.
Specialist is for the little time into this. So.
All right, so what I sent out to you guys is kind of the proposed that I've been working on with Nolan. On the Board of Health side, we had discussed modeling it more on the states and then adding a few extra things in that would, help facilitate some of the concerns that have came up in the county. In the wording of this, some of it I like, some of it I don't. And when it comes to A being there at the top, in the states, if you follow one, it's just a language change, and I think it would be, I don't think people would be able to try to manipulate it into a policing based on looks as opposed to health and safety. So everything I really want is geared towards the health and safety. I like the BB that's in there. The CC is redundancy back to the states. That's covered under 4. And then the DD, EE, and FF. Those are the biggest, for sure the DD and the EE are the biggest concerns. And if we adopt this language as well as the states, then I think we can cover everything without changing a lot. I just want thoughts and concerns and advice on anything that you'd like to see or not see.
One thing that I worry about by adopting this is, what if you deem or we deem something a nuisance, and we go out and tell people they have to clean it up or do whatever, and they don't, which in here it states penalties. But what if they don't have any money? Does it and you've deemed it a nuisance, who does it fall on to clean it up? Is that a county problem?
That I'd have to check with Nolan for.
You know, I just worry about this being a real, could be a real money deal for the county to have to clean all these spots up, because some people aren't gonna do it, some people can't do it, some people won't do it. Then
That's correct.
who does it cost? I think it could cost the county lots and lots of money.
What I always think of is what looks bad for you and me, maybe they don't feel that's bad.
I worked for a guy one time that told me that after you walk by something so many times, you don't see it anymore.
Yeah. Well, so what do you go by? I don't know.
Well, in the reiteration of that, that's what I don't want this to be used for at all. You know, I only want it to be used for health and safety, not for, you know, we don't like the way it looks, but, you know, if your neighbor has a property that breeds and harbors, you know, your vermin and everything else, and they're coming to your property and destroying it, you know, that's what its intent, and that's why where I want to keep its intent, and it's not to, you know, we don't like this, and it's just when we have instances.
I can see where you're coming from.
I just don't know how to make it the correct way where that is its only, you know,
Yeah.
intent. That's what I'm working on. And any advice would be enjoyed.
And I don't have any.
I don't either. And that's kind of where I thought, like, if we use what the state already has, because they're already there, they're existing. These are their nuisance laws. And then, you know, if we just added in, you know, our DD and our EE, and FF, potentially BB, I don't think it I know it is a sticky situation, I guess. I don't know how to quite phrase it correctly, but I think it helps with the intent of what we're trying to do and doesn't get us too broad.
What is the FF?
The FF is keeping and maintaining any abandoned well or permitting the same to continue to exist for the purpose of this ordinance. Abandoned wells shall have the same meaning set forth in Iowa Code 455B171.
Right there.
Oh.
It's on the second page.
Somebody didn't have it before.
Is there a lot of problems?
There was a big issue a couple years ago. DD would have helped us to have something to be able to help enforce on that. And I've had many, at least 3 last year for the road complaints. Some gentleman had his wiring eaten out of his building by rats that came from the neighbor's property. Most of them were all for vermin. That were the complaints. But the one that I kind of point out is the gentleman that had his wiring eaten out of his building, because that was a big cost for him to incur. And there's nothing right now to prevent it from happening again, because nothing's changed.
The example from code is more applicable to cities
Right,
than what would be allowed in the rural
yeah, because
or
in
unincorporated areas.
the nuisance for the state, it's under number 11. It addresses the dense growth of all weeds, vines, brushes, and other vegetation, but it says in any city limits. So in the county overall, that ties my hands. So therefore, like if we adopted something like EE, establishing, continuing, maintaining, and operating any building, place, or property which is conductive to breeding, harboring, feeding, or sheltering of any pest and vermin, it would eliminate that.
We don't have that now.
There's nothing now. The state is the only thing that we have now.
Shutting it
And when
down so
it
that
says in
doesn't-
city limits, there's nothing
Someone else
countywide
goes
that
for
can
it,
be
so-
done. It is just within city limits.
Board of Health meeting was postponed from last week and we'll be meeting tomorrow afternoon, so we'll be presenting thoughts from here to them and seeing that we
I
can be
will.
on the same page.
Yeah,
and-
whatever kind of recommendations I get from you guys, I'll bring to the Board of Health, and maybe between all parties, we can either come up with something or keep it the way it is.
I understand your point, Jerry, and I don't want to be onerous on property owners, but if they're to the point where they can't keep it from becoming a nuisance, then that's of concern too, especially when you talk about rodents and, things like that, but.
It all depends on how you look at it. That rodent issue could have been solved by maybe that guy putting bait out. I don't know. I mean, I've had once in a while rodents get out of control. I can't blame it on the neighbor. I could.
Well, on this particular
Yeah.
property, it was kind of a little bit self-induced by the owner of not the one that had the wiring eaten out, but the neighbor. If you can't mow and the weeds are 12 foot tall and you can't see the house, it is definitely an environment that is, number one, it's not safe for them even to be staying in those kind of conditions, especially when as dry as it was this fall. You can't see a house and it's covered in weeds. Just mowing alone would have, I think, tremendously solved a lot of that.
I think Section 8, the enforcement section, gives more latitude than just a cut and dry, this is the way it has to be. It allows the board say in instances, so I don't think this is necessarily onerous.
Like I've said from the beginning, I don't agree with all this. It all depends on everybody's interpretation. I can come from Malvern to Sibley and probably somebody point out 5 or 6 locations just in that short distance that I don't guarantee they're not gonna do nothing. And they probably don't have the money to do it. And who's it gonna cost? It's gonna cost us. And it could be a tremendous amount of money.
Well, still is, if they rent it, it's different, but could a person just put it on their taxes?
I'm not sure. But what if they don't pay the taxes?
I don't think that's up to tax lane, but
Process of that.
Well,
Until they do, and you get your money.
yeah.
I don't know how many years you have to wait for that.
Just my opinion. That's, I think you're opening a can of worms.
And the flip side of that is you leave a can of worms open too, if you're allowing things to be unregulated. Not that I'm big on regulation. Don't mistake me there.
Just a question, you just do this if someone complains though, right?
Yeah.
You're not looking for,
I do not want this to be policing at all whatsoever. It is complaint-based only. Complainants have to state their name. It's not going to be anonymous complaints. They have to be willing to, show a loss and that there is a problem. It's not just, I don't like how this looks. It's, I have property damage from this, or, somebody doing something so egregious it is detrimental to everyone in their area, such as, not using sanitary facilities properly, things of that nature. So just any thoughts I would present and kind of see what we've tried to come up with and continue to go from there.
I like your approach of removing AA, BB, and CC and referencing the state, it's already mentioned by the state, and retaining DD, EE, and FF. And to Sandra's question, it does, investigations does give the Board of Health, or the not sanitary, environmental health specialist, the ability to initiate, but the intent and approach is that it would be caused by complaint.
Correct. You know, there can be circumstances where somebody's going to complain, you know, about the hog confinement next door, or, the ethanol plant was a concern that was brought up, hog confinements. You know, we live in an area that's where it is. So I might get complaints that just aren't warranted because they don't go to a level that is a concern for health or safety. It's more annoying than anything else. So at least, yes, there's some leeway to decide which is valid, a valid complaint, which is not.
Anything further? You get the information you were looking
That
for?
is the information.
So see what public health has to say about it.
Okay.
They sent us a draft previously that we wanted altered, so this is in response to.
Because public health, the last one when we had voted was using the state's current nuisance ordinances and then just amending to make it work at the county level, which would be your DD and your EE and your FF.
All right.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Next item is public comment on the EMS Advisory Board Annual Report. Anything you want to share first, Sandy, or?
No, I haven't heard anything, any comments, any.
Have we received any
I have not.
feedback? Anyone here to comment on the EMS Advisory Board Annual Report? Hearing nothing, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, discuss May City ambulance.
As you know, we're getting a different ambulance in this summer. And the one that sits in May City is a 1995 ambulance, so it's over 20 years old. And it will probably be the one that we will get rid of. We do have an entity that is interested in using this ambulance for traffic control. And basically they would, they know the problems that it has, and it really does have some problems. They are well aware of that, but they're willing to take it, use it for hauling equipment, and then once, like a traffic accident, they'll be able to help us, keep us safe out there on the road so we don't get ran over. So basically, I was hoping that I didn't, every year in April, we have to pay for a DOT inspection on these ambulances. And what's wrong with them needs to be fixed before they are granted roadworthy. I cannot tell you the number of miles on here because the last time the odometer worked was like maybe 168,000. And that was probably like 5 years ago. So, it's an older ambulance, and we have had these in our lot before, and they become nothing more than a lawn ornament until we can find somebody to come and take them away. So if we have an entity that is willing to take it, take the name off it with all of its problems.
Is it a public entity or
It's a fire department in Ocheaton.
bidding requirements or process defined as
Well, we
to
have
transfer?
insurance on it and stuff, but we have to, it's insured for what, 380, I think, right now? All of our rigs are insured for that amount right now. So that would help to get that off the, probably a little bit, getting that one off. I just didn't want to pay another. And so far, when the state required us to do the DOTs, it went in already not being able, the odometer doesn't work. So it kind of got grandfathered in. The one in Melton's kind of the same way, but so they have allowed me not to have an odometer.
Would we have to put it up for bids?
What do I have to do for?
No, would we have to put it out for bids instead of just giving it to the?
We tried that last time, Mike, the last 3 of them, and we never got one thing.
I mean legally,
Uh-huh.
do we have to? I would almost think we would.
I mean, the fire department, people know our business more than I know our business. So it really,
I'd have to check into
I think
that.
if we got some entity that is going to be using it, and actually it's going to be helping the EMS, is because we need to be safe out on that highway. I don't know if you've ever been on a highway during an accident, but you can have the skin taken right off your hindside
I have.
if people are not watching what is going on. So having someone out there protecting you like another big vehicle is
I'm
very-
just asking for the legal side.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not opposed to the process you identified, we just need to make sure we're doing it in the proper steps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
that's,
Are we giving it to them? Are they paying for it, or what would
Probably
you?
just give it to them. We've had to give them away the last 3 of them.
but that's after we've gone through the process of trying to do
Yeah.
competitive bids. So I just want to make sure we do it in the right order. I'm not opposed to your,
I just don't want it
Recommendation.
hanging for a lawn ornament.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them getting it, but as long as we do the right steps.
Can't they just put a bid in on it?
Sure. Yeah.
I'd have to put an ad in the
We'll probably
paper.
open it up.
Yeah, we have to
open it up
advertise
the
it.
public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll double check on that to see.
Okay.
Just have to-
there may be a process where we, because it's a public entity, that we identify the intent is to provide it to that entity unless another alternative is presented. So just explore those options or.
We'll check into it.
All right.
And I'll-
Sounds good.
Sandy,
Thank you.
when do you meet with the hospital? When do you meet with the hospital?
I have no
How long you
idea.
gonna take on the,
We didn't meet.
Oak
in
Hill
February, so-
mind stepping up for okay?
I think we can knock those out.
Consider the Oak Hill, approval of Oak Hill box culverts.
Thank you, Chair. Both of these box culverts are on Oak Hill Avenue, but they're pretty far apart from each other. One of them is north of Highway 9, north of Sibley here. The other one is just north of Ashton on Oak Hill. They just happen to be both on Oak Hill. These are areas that were originally rows of pipe culverts that were washed out by the 2024 flood. We've been working with FEMA on their replacement. Our ordinance that we have in place for road construction states that when you have pipes that are 54 inches or larger, we replace them with box culverts. So that's why these are box culvert projects. The one to the north is going to be 16 by 4, and the one to the south will be 8 by 5. We have ordered the boxes. One of them is actually ready for delivery. The other one is very close to being ready for delivery. We'd like to go out for bid on these and have approval of plans. I think when they're finally all said and done, the box culvert's gonna be much better for flow in those areas, less susceptible to being debris blockage. With that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions on the plans.
Questions or interest in approving the recommended box culvert plans?
Motion to approve it. But I have a question. Doesn't this fall under your jurisdiction? Couldn't you just go ahead and do it?
We typically bring plan approvals to the board for work. I mean, with this being a maintenance project, we would probably not normally, but with it being FEMA, we're trying to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to do it.
Second.
Motion from Schulte, support from Loring for approval of the Oak Hill culverts, two identified, Sibley and by Ashton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approval signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay. And along with that, we would consider approval of Oak Hill box culverts easement purchase agreements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As part of building these projects, we have to have a small amount of working room temporary construction easements. It's common when we do these types of projects. We typically use the DOT's process. They have a streamlined process for assessing property whenever it's considered under $10,000 value of purchase. We typically go back about 6 months and look at sales of acreages and farmland, take out transactions that aren't arm length and other types of things that may have structures on them, and try to get down to just straight ag land. From there, we throw out the high and the low, come up with an average, and pass that through another official of the county has to buy off on that. I usually use Sharon, since she has a familiarity with land values, and she's agreed to the prices. The price ends up being roughly about $14,000 an acre is what we're at. About 2 years ago, we were around $19,000 an acre, so prices have actually come down. Unfortunately, these parcels are so tiny that the value ends up being about $38, $40 because of what we're taking. So we've set a minimum value of $100 for people's inconvenience of using their property. So all of these fell under that minimum 100, so all 3 of these are $100. There is a 4th one that we have not received the sign back from the owner yet. It also has a maintenance company, so we're having to go through a couple extra hurdles. But these 3 are ready to go. I appreciate the board approving these temporary construction easements and support of the project.
The recommendation for the acceptance of the purchase agreements, we have interest in the motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
We have a motion from Helmer, support from DeVore for approval of the agreements. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have your items covered. Thank you. Small price adjustments on resolution 2037. Do we want to consider that in this next minute?
Sure, I would make that motion.
Resolution 37 would be a corrective action.
Second.
Motion by Helmer, support from Loring to approve resolution number 37, 2425, correcting scrivener's error and amending resolution 22. Any further discussion concerning resolution 37? Hearing none. Mr. Helmers, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Loring?
Aye.
Mr. Schulte?
Aye.
Mr. DeVore?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Okay.
Brings us to 9:30. Reach out to John Hanson and we will have the discuss, consider monument bid for relocation on courthouse grounds. Consider approval of pay application for jail remodel and discuss date and time for jail remodel groundbreaking ceremony.
Hi, John, this is Rochelle from Osceola County. We're ready for you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at right now. We're working on all the material submittals with the contractors to get them approved so they can get material ordered. And I'm meeting with the contractors tomorrow to have a meeting to get started up. So we're meeting over at the sheriff's office in the morning with them. They want to possibly start the second week in April here just on some underground utilities and such. And if they do that, then we'll probably be closing off that west entrance. So I guess I was just checking with you to see if that's going to be a problem or if we can go ahead and get started. So. The other thing I wanted to discuss this morning was the groundbreaking. I guess when would your board like to do that? Are you wanting to do it on a weekend or maybe on a weekday that's later in the day for the public, or you want to just do it after the meeting sometime?
We'll definitely do it after the meeting.
Meeting will work better for me.
Me too.
Couple have indicated interest in after a meeting. We've set our schedule for the 8th and the 22nd of April.
Well, if we were able to get an ad in the paper next week, then we should be ready for the 8th. If you want to do it on the 8th, that'd be great.
Okay with me.
Yeah, me too. How about the papers?
I figure half page, maybe.
Sounds like a public interest article to me.
What time are we thinking then on the 8th?
How much are you going to have for us to do?
Oh, I don't have much on there right now, but it's early yet, so. Yeah.
10 o'clock?
You can always, yeah, that would be good. Did you hear that, John?
I did not. What time?
10 o'clock on the 8th?
10 o'clock? Okay. I have all the hard hats and some gold shovels and stuff like that I'll bring up.
We want real gold. Not paint, we want real gold.
Yeah, they're real gold, yeah.
Keep them. We're gonna have to sell them.
No, I'll get that all prepared and, Rochelle, you probably just get something in the paper or something, or the paper, if the paper's there, if they can put something in the paper that we'd have a groundbreaking then on the 8th at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Then, all of the contractors, get some dirt stirred up so that we can dig, and we'll plan on that. I did get some proposals late last night from Raveling for that monument moving. For the work he's done so far, it was $10,520, and he has an proposal here for $39,600 to move the monument, provide the footings, and provide, concrete around. I guess, you know, do we want to give him a notice to proceed? And I sent the proposals, but they didn't go till this morning, so.
That be paid out of the ARPA funds, or can that be paid out of bond proceeds, or?
I don't know, I'd
It
have to
was a
check
part of
that
the
out.
bid process, so I was
check
thinking
that
ARPA
out.
funds, but
ARPA funds are general basic.
we budgeted for it too.
Is that high, John?
I haven't had a chance to talk to him. Like I said, I just got him late last night, and I was going to talk to him. And I know there's quite a bit of work there, but I want to make sure what all's included. You know, he's got, you know, I want to make sure he's got the sidewalk and the benches fit in there and such. You know, there's quite a bit of work to move that monument, but I was able, there was a 10 by 10 by 6 foot footing or something in the ground there, and I was able to talk to the architect and engineer and was able to leave that footing underneath the new building, you know, because Jesus Christ, it takes dynamite to get it out of there. And, so it's something that we can work around under the new building. I checked with the structural engineer and the architect, but, you know, I guess I wasn't expecting quite that much, but, the 10,520 was to do all, you know, tear out the concrete around the monument, which originally we had in the project, but, and then you know, remove the concrete off the site and do this investigation. He said he had 96 hours in there, so. But the other price, you know, I guess he's got to build and install a saddle and pick the monument up and move it and put footings back in the new location. And so I could talk to him and see, but I'm not sure if that was an estimate or if that was what he's going to fix his cost at. I mean, if it's an estimate, then, you know, I hope to God that we wouldn't go over that, but it might be better to fix the cost in there with him for the 39.6, and I mean, it's got to be moved, I guess.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm looking for is an approval for a total cost of $49,850, and then I'll see what I can talk to Bruce about, or what all it involves, and have more information. But you know, tentatively, I'd like to get them. You know, we have to get them scheduled. You know, at some point in time. So. I guess what we can do is approve the cost of $49,850 total, and then I'll talk to him and see what we can do. Or you're welcome to talk to him also. But
Unless the county guys want to do it. I'm just asking.
Can't just throw it in a loader bucket.
Good.
I can't guarantee what the image would be.
I would say they couldn't do it.
My math says the two add up to 50,120, John.
pardon?
The two I'm looking at add up to 50,120, not 49,850.
I got 39.6 and 10,520. Did I?
Maybe over 50.
$39,600 plus. And,
You were gonna cover the difference?
I guess. 10,520 plus 39,600.
Can't believe it.
Oh, yeah, it's 5120.
What if he breaks it?
Yeah, that's a good question. What if he breaks it? What if he breaks it, John?
I gotta check. I mean, he's gonna have to submit an insurance certificate, I would believe.
He has already. I have that.
Oh,
I had that before he started, so
That's good.
I got drilled into my head that I have to have all that before anybody starts anything.
yeah.
That's it.
I,
What do you
I,
think?
I can answer that question, what happens, but, I hope to God that he doesn't, seeing the cost, and it appears that, he's researched this with someone that, typically does this, engineer that typically does this, so I would hope that they would be able, after their investigation, be able to pick it up and move it.
He'll do it right.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I mean, he didn't want to break that thing any worse than we want to save. So I would assume that he has that covered in this cost.
All right, what do you need, Jason? What do you need?
I think separate approval for the monument relocation is probably necessary.
I would make a motion to have the monument relocated on the courthouse grounds.
Using the Raveling Incorporated.
Yep.
Come down there, we'll walk the short through. Board of Supervisors. Well, we gotta be integrating our computers first. Okay. Second. I'll wait for you.
We have a motion from Jerry Helmer, support from Jeff Loring. Do you want to read the motion, or what do you have worded?
To approve Raylene's bid to relocate the monument on courthouse grounds for the $50,120.
Any further discussion on the motion? Those in favor of approval signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
I'll abstain.
Next item is consider approval of pay application dated 3/1/25 for jail remodel. So we have approval for the raving bids, John. You can proceed with them to get that item done.
I would assume that this is going to come out of the project. I guess it doesn't matter what pocket it comes out of, that we've just run this through the project.
Yeah, I'll check to see if I can use ARPA money or how I can do that, so I'll check into that.
Well, if we use it through the project, we would be able to use the ARPA money, wouldn't we,
Yeah,
as part of the project?
that's my understanding, correct.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're using ARPA money, it's already included in the project cost recap, so I guess I would assume that we're just gonna run this as part of the project cost, so we avoid any situations with that.
They're reviewing your cost estimate that you sent over. I put that on the agenda as well for them to discuss, so.
For
3/1,
for the payout.
yep, payout.
Okay,
I added that to the agenda, so.
yeah.
John, why are we seeing such change orders and revised contract value on the architect side of things?
His contract is 8.5% of construction cost. So that was estimated amount that was originally in cost recap. And there's some notes there on the, he didn't charge the full 8.5%. 8.5% would have been in I have the notes on the back. At 8.5%, he would have been 607,078. Originally, he didn't have the cost for doing the plans on the existing facility totally. And, he's only at, he's less than 7%, I think. He limited his fee to 42,450, so he dropped about 150,000 off his fee from his contract. So that was just adjusting his fee, but he didn't charge the whole 8.5% that he has in the contract that we have signed. So I thought that was great that he didn't charge the full 8.5%. So. The note 6, 7, and 8 pertain to that. I just left my fee alone. So.
Question, action on the pay app, gentlemen?
I'd make a motion for that pay.
Motion from Helmer for the pay application for 3/1/25. Support? Report from Jeff Loring. Any further discussion concerning the pay app? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have approval. We've previously discussed the groundbreaking. Anything further, John?
No, if there's not anything further from you.
Anything, gentlemen? Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, if you want to attend the meeting tomorrow with the contractors, you're welcome to, but it's not necessary. We're just trying to get everybody coordinated so we get them started and get moving forward on this, so.
What
Can you
time,
give
John?
us the details on that again?
It's tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the sheriff's office. And Rochelle, I'll pick up I'll take that permit, the check for the permit for
yep.
the city.
Yep,
I'll pick that one up and also the one for code enforcement, because code enforcement, I got a lot of documents put with it. And they'll lose it for sure, so I'll pick up those two checks, because I gotta meet with the city tomorrow anyway.
so which one again do you need? The permits?
The one for the Department of Iowa Inspections and Appeals, which is fire marshal.
Yep.
And I'll take the one over to the city with the applicant, with the approved permit.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Okay, I will get together with you tomorrow so we can get a schedule of values, and that way you start working on what you want to invest the bond money in to develop interest, so offset some of the cost of the project.
What time was that again tomorrow, John?
For Rochelle or the meeting?
Meeting.
Meeting's at 10 a.m.
Okay.
So you'll be there after the meeting or before, or what's your?
I'll probably get together with you after the meeting.
All right,
So,
sounds good.
okay, if there's
All right.
nothing else, I will talk to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, we have discussed open county attorney position, consider continuing 2080 agreement.
I reached out to Sioux County. I think Jason has talked to them too. They were gonna put it on their agenda for today. Discuss a possible consideration for us. I talked with him and he said the issue they had is the county attorney was getting all the money. County wasn't getting nothing. And that was why they didn't want to pursue 9 counties any further. And I think, Jason, did you provide him with that 2080?
I sent the copy of the current 2080 we used to Dickinson Clay on Sioux.
And he said they would bring it up at their meeting, they would talk about, what was the other thing, Jason? Reason?
The what?
What was the other reason they didn't do it? One was because of him getting all, the other thing was, he said it's up to the county attorney if they want to or not.
Not sure on that, but
Yeah, that's what he told me.
if you have the agreement and they don't do the work, you haven't accomplished what you agreed to either. So I don't know how that works exactly, but.
So that was their reluctance to do it, but we talked to them, they're gonna talk about it again and see if they would help us out. So.
I was wondering too, like different law firms, what do they do when they want to recruit? How do they do it? Should we talk to some law firms and see what they do?
Right now, I think it was a real struggle for anybody getting anybody,
At least we could see what avenues they take.
Yeah, because, I mean, I have it on ISAC's webpage, I have it on the Attorney General's site. Papers, I don't know where else, I don't know what else to do.
Any at all?
I had one gentleman, and I sent a resume, or I sent an application, but I haven't heard nothing, so. I don't know if they're real interested in it then. It's been 2 or 3 weeks ago I sent the application, so. And I don't know how, I think it was just a mass mailing, he sent out his resume, and that's my take on that.
Nolan did share with me yesterday that he thinks the Lyon County Board would agree to another 3 months. But he recommends extending it 1 more month, and he says he asks Osceola to do its best to find someone to take the criminal docket on following mid-May. He'd be glad to remain on the juvenile and civil, but would like us to work towards splitting that out and have the criminal covered. Did not respond or have further conversation. I don't know if there's something in the works that he thought 1 more month on the criminal would be beneficial.
Can we reach out privately to a private firm, or
I'm not sure.
just
I know.
thinking, I'm not sure what to.
Find one temporary or.
And the way I understand it, Jason, might get that right, that Sioux County does have assistant attorneys.
He said 1 or 2 assistants in the office. Maybe that would be an option.
When is the 15th, 16th is
The agreement's through the
April
14th of April.
14th? So we would be able to extend that at our April 8th meeting if we wanted to. Is it just Osceola County, or is it pay, or what is it, do you think?
I think moving here.
Part of it's pay too.
I mean, I was told there's somebody from Dickinson County that would love to come here, but he's not moving to Osceola County, so I think that's the problem.
We find that with those Dickinson people.
So, I think it's a requirement to live here. And I think that's a problem.
Is there any way to talk to the state to see if that can be changed?
They're elected, that's a problem. Elected, you have to be in the county that you serve. It's an elected position. And, the code, like if somebody would appoint me, I think you have to be living here, 30 or 60 days before they can even appoint any other office except for the county attorney. They gotta be living here the date that they get appointed, so. I don't know how to get away
As
with
to
that.
just being Osceola County, no, I don't think it's that. I mean, Lyon County looked for how long, and they're that much closer to Sioux Falls, which
Yeah.
you could move 15 miles and still have pretty much all access to Sioux Falls and be in the county. But I don't know.
Should we wait and see what Sioux County comes back with, or
Sioux, Dickinson, and Clay.
has anybody reached out to Clay, or have you?
Mm-hmm. Send all that information to all 3. Move on to the next item, or anything to consider for final review of the 25-26 proposed budgets?
In this packet here, I gave you all the fund balances and, just notice here, if nothing changes, this will be published in the paper. Just notice right here will be published in the paper.
Okay.
And then I kind of gave you a little, this is proposed expenditures. So it's by department, what proposed is for this time, and then what's estimated for this year, and what was actual for last year. Kind of look at it a little bit. Everything looks as good as it can, and I don't know what else to change, so. Any suggestions? Can't increase, or it can increase the levy, so the levies is what it is. But
Go into drainage before we move to your next items. Anything further? Budgets, or we do have the back of the sheet, a joint drainage district meeting, 10:15. I would take a motion to suspend our meeting.
I'd make that motion. Support.
We have a motion by Helmers, support from Schulte to suspend our meeting so we can enter into drainage district meeting. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound. Sorry, I can't find a meeting with that number. Try entering your conference ID again and then press pound.
Just kidding. Maybe we'll end this one.
Sorry, I can't find a meeting with that number.
I don't know.
Try entering your conference ID again and then press pound. You're now joining the meeting.
It usually is with me. I usually gotta do it 3 times.
Are we controlling? Do I have to run this?
Yep, we are, unfortunately.
Morning, Rochelle, Spencer.
Morning.
Morning, Spencer.
Morning, everyone. We do not have O'Brien County on quite yet, but hopefully we do here soon.
Surprise, surprise. Sandra leaves and
What
drainage
that
starts.
laundry is, I know.
I see on O'Brien County's agenda, they had a pipeline discussion at 10, so I'm wondering if that's maybe running a little long on them.
Very possible.
That wouldn't be shocking.
No, nothing's to do.
No, I should have. I haven't had time lately, I tell ya. Next couple weeks are gonna be pretty crazy at my house.
I suppose because you're gonna be on the family, you're gonna slow down a little more.
What?
You're gonna be a grandma again, so you're gonna slow down a little more.
Well, 2 weekends we were with Trevor, and then Allie moves, and then it's Easter, and yeah, it's crazy.
When I first come in today, I wasn't sure who you guys were.
Pretty happy to see you somewhere. The bad apples always come back. Gives me time to go through some of this junk. Those fall up.
Is 270th the county line?
What's that?
It's 270th.
Yes.
The county line. Thank you.
More coffee, Leroy?
No, I'm fine.
Let's go to the east. Wow. We don't have that one named? It's undiscovered.
Does Margaret have treatments tomorrow then?
I think so.
What's our last one named?
As long as their numbers that we're okay, I think.
Yeah, my granddaughter, they have to go back to Minneapolis tomorrow for a stress test.
What's that?
My granddaughter they have to go back to Minneapolis tomorrow for a stress test. She's been having some issues, so.
Right, Terry, where'd your garbage came from? I don't clean mine out. I think
former auditor down there for holding things up.
You need a call there?
He said Spencer thought they had a pipeline thing at 10, so I wonder if that's going.
Yeah, she did mention that last night, that they had that.
15 minutes might be a little short to
Yeah, it might
schedule
be a little
that.
bit.
I'm kinda scared to eat them.
Anything you can do to prod him along there, Spencer?
I can certainly send a message over. I'm not sure if they'll receive it or not, but I can definitely do that.
They just called me. O'Brien's running about 15 minutes behind. They'll call you when ready. I don't know what that means.
Another 5.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to re-enter regular meeting and let Keith and?
Sure. I like that one.
I can, do we want to just, so they're 15 minutes behind, do we want to try and reconvene at like 10:30 then, or what do we think? Or a little after, or?
We just-
Sit and wait.
Can we just stay on the line and if they call in?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yep, go ahead. No problem.
You want us to mute ourselves?
I can meet you on my end, but you'll have to unmute yourself when you're done.
I guess we'd need a motion to re-enter.
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press star.
Motion by Helmer, support from the board to re-enter the board meeting. All those in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Then we have consideration of approval of Iowa DOT County 5-year plan.
Thank you,
We do this a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, this one's next year's plan. So the last
All
two
right.
you dealt with were amendments to the current year plan. So next year's plan, obviously it will carry forward any projects that were already in the plan. Projects that are in this current fiscal year, they just drop out even if they haven't been constructed yet. They don't have to be brought forward. The two new projects that are going to be showing up are in next fiscal year, we have a bridge deck overlay. That's similar to what we did on Tyler Avenue over by the Thomas Pit this past year, where we strip off about 2 inches of the top deck and redo the concrete. This one will also include approach slabs by the contractor. We're adding this project now because the deck is starting to get worse, and we're having more HBP funds freed up because of that CHBP grant that we just did that, for the other bridge. So that gives us more money to work with. So we're going to add a deck overlay to that project. The other project is, and this project, this deck overlay is on the bridge here in Sibley, south of town by Schnapp's. It's just outside of Sibley city limits. The other project is going to be another asphalt project. We're due again, actually a little bit ahead of schedule. The way the TIP has been working is the counties, we've kind of been trying to coordinate projects and maybe put fewer projects in the hopper, but fund those projects at 80%, the full amount that federal funding will allow. So we did put that project in this year for FY29 in the TIP. It was not successfully awarded, but there was a lot of support for the project, so we're going to put it in again next year, and I think we're going to get it. So that'll be an FY30. That's going to be for A34. That's the road there that we just did from Ashton over to 59. So this would pick up at 59 and take it all the way to at least M18. But as we get closer to that project, we'll see what our FM funds look like, and we'll likely extend it to the county line. So for now, we're just going to get it in the program and put it on the books, and then keep trying to go after federal aid funding through the TIP. So that's the 5-year program. It is required to be approved by the board by the DOT.
Interest in that approval, gentlemen?
Make that motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion for approval from Schulte, support from Loring. Any further questions, comments,
That
discussion?
Bridge by Snaps, isn't that half the cities?
No, it's outside the city limits.
It is out.
Yeah. So it's ours.
Shoot, okay,
Yeah.
because I thought that was half the cities, so.
No, the boundary is not the creek. It's the north bank of the creek. So we
Okay.
get the full bridge,
Oh, good.
which was a DOT bridge at
Okay.
one time. And, you know, we're doing a deck overlay on that, and we're replacing the bridge up by the VFW. So we're taking care of some good state bridges that we were handed.
Okay. That's all I
The
have.
counties are the only ones the state sees misspending funds, huh?
Well, the state is going to redo the bridge, the first bridge east of Lake Park on Highway 9, so they're starting to spend some money up in this region.
All right, we have the motion support. Any further questions? If not, those in favor of the approval signify with aye. Same.
That was on that one.
Those approved, same sign.
Hello?
Let's try to get the DO secondary roads in.
Hey, good morning, Bryan County, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
It's the same as.
That's all right, this is Spencer with ISG. Osceola County's on as well. They had muted. I'm gonna see, I think they'll have to unmute themselves. So they had muted to talk about some other things. So once they unmute, we can get started.
Unfortunately, it doesn't get the same timeframe as the rest of our budgets. But it is the same budget that you saw a month ago. I said I would bring it back in the state
Yes, thank
form.
you, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion from Helmer, support from Schulte for that approval on the secondary roads annual budget. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
And 17, we would look to suspend again.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Helmers and support from Loring to again suspend our meeting. Any discussion? Those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, can you unmute us?
Can you hear us, Spencer?
You are no longer muted.
Can you hear us, Spencer?
Yep, we can hear you, Rochelle.
Okay, we got a couple other things accomplished, so we are now ready to enter into the joint drainage district meeting. Everyone on that end prepared?
Yes, we are.
Okay, first item would be considering the agenda for March 25, 2025.
I'll make a motion on that.
We don't have an agenda. Did you send us an agenda?
Spencer did. Spencer sent us what was to be on it. Did we not give it to you or send it?
They had like 20,000 pages, but I don't see an agenda.
So in his email, he said it's proposed agenda items, review improvement, investigation, and discuss, consider televising existing DD 6 main tile branch.
Oh, okay. So yes, we have an agenda. We're, okay, yep.
We have a motion from Helmers for approval of today's agenda. Is there interest in support?
I'll support Frederickson.
Thank you. Motion from Helmers, support from Frederickson to approve the agenda that we're looking at here before us. Any further discussion?
We heard about it.
Otherwise, all those in favor of the agenda signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have a copy of minutes from January 14th. Have you received those?
We probably sent you to you in January. We should have probably done that last week. I apologize for that. Never gave that a thought, I guess.
You guys would like to take action on January 14 minutes or hold those for a future meeting?
I think we're good with it. Was that a motion, Dan?
Yeah, that's a motion by Frederickson to approve.
Okay.
Did you get a second?
Not yet.
Support.
We have a motion by Frederickson, support from Helmers to approve the minutes from January 14. Any further discussion on January 14 minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of approval signify with aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Now we have review improvement investigation memo and consider setting an informational landowner meeting. Spencer, you want to run with this?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Jason. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for jumping on the call here to talk through this. So hopefully everyone had a chance to see the memo we sent. I know there's a lot of information in there. I can provide full-size hard copies of the maps, and also will provide those, when we meet in person as well, if folks would like. But kind of the plan here today is I'm just going to really briefly talk through that memo with the joint board and what we found in our preliminary investigation, and then kind of talk through next steps for the project as well. So it's just kind of a reminder for the joint board. This started with a petition that was filed for improvement within the district by a landowner, and that was filed by Galen Byers of Byers Farms. And that petition for improvement was on his land within JDD 6. And so this is kind of our initial investigation to address that petition. So this is not like a formal engineer's report yet, but the preliminary investigation to address that. So really what the scope of work for this was to research the history of the district, identify the watershed, research the condition and capacity of the existing systems in the district, and then determine some preliminary improvement options for the landowners to consider. And then moving forward, we would obviously get input from the landowners before proceeding. So with that, I'm just going to kind of run through some of the high-level preliminary findings with the joint board here this morning first. So this is kind of a general reminder. This is Joint Drainage District 6, obviously between Osceola and O'Brien counties. Right on the county line is northeast of Sanborn, kind of between Sanborn and Melvin as the general location of it. The overall district has a watershed of about 2,670 acres. So fairly large watershed. A large portion of that does drain just into the open ditch towards the bottom end of it. And so as far as like the tile in the watershed that were petitioned, there's a main tile which drains about just under 1,500 acres, and then there are some branch tiles as well that connect to that main tile and also serve different areas within that watershed. And so that can be most easily seen on the existing map that's included within the memo. And again, I know those may not have printed on full size, so we can provide hard copies of the full size that might be a little easier to review as well. If I was to share my screen here, I guess, I know O'Brien County's on, would you guys be able to see it if I shared my screen? Would that be helpful at all on your end? I'm not sure if you have a TV up or anything, or.
We do have a TV. We were looking at the maps earlier, but we can sure give it a try.
Sure. Okay. Yep. I'll do that. So this is the existing map that I've got up here for O'Brien County to be able to see. And this red line around the outside just represents the district watershed boundary. And then there's a blue line here which represents the open ditch portion of the district. And then I'll zoom in a little. You can see all these dashed black lines here represent the different drainage district tiles of the district as well. And so the largest tile by far is the main tile, which outlooks into that open ditch and then runs north about 2 miles all the way up across the county line up into section 31 in Osceola County. And then the other larger tile is this branch 76 tile, which outlets into the main and then runs also north about 1.5 miles to 2 miles across the county line up into Osceola County as well. And so there are a number of other smaller branches, but those two are the largest tile that serve the largest area that were primarily the focus of our preliminary investigation.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Those tile lines, are some of those running in the ditch?
Yes, there are definitely tile that are either in the county road right-of-way or very near the county road right-of-way in the road ditch.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And I would say, too, just to note, that is something we see, fairly common from districts that were established in the early 1900s, but we don't see that, new drainage district tiles being put in the county road ditch as often anymore. So additional part of our preliminary investigation, I did speak with the petitioning landowner and a couple other farmers and tenants in the district about some of the drainage issues they had received. The petitioning landowner owns the northeast quarter of Section 1 there, so it's going to be kind of on the west-northwest part of the watershed. And he owns this northeast quarter of the section and has experienced a lot of drainage issues, particularly on the east side of his field, which is where that branch 76 tile runs up across. And this actually is abandoned county road right away in O'Brien County there between sections 1 and 6, just south of the county line. So that was the county road at one point, but has been since abandoned, but the tile is still there. Then also spoke with the farmer who farms quite a bit of the land on the north side of the county line in Osceola County in sections 31 and 36. And he provided quite a bit of information about some drainage issues that they had found or they had identified this year. A lot of flooding in those fields and taken quite a while to drain down. And so we got some good information from them. There is, I'll see if I can show it on the screen here in the report. There's a photo that he took. This is from that T intersection right at the county line. You can see essentially this entire field was flooded out. And from what the landowner described to me there, that was the case for quite a while this spring. And it really did not drain down very well. So really the focus of some of the problem drainage areas in the district are near that T intersection at the county line there. And Silver Avenue would be the north-south road from Osceola County that comes down and at the county line. Really identified drainage issues every direction from that area. And that was kind of the impetus for the original petition. So the other thing that I guess the landowners had noted to me is that they felt like the main tile, which would be kind of further east in that area, had been draining really pretty well. They thought for the most part it was taking water, but they had observed that the branch 76 tile, which does have intakes on it, and crosses right at that T intersection there, was not taking any water. And so they felt that it was possible that that tile was blocked or had some sort of obstruction or something was wrong with it because it was not taking water as well. And so really kind of the summary of what we learned from the landowners is that they had a lot of drainage issues up here. We did do, drainage capacity of the existing system, just, from a really high level, without going into too much detail now. The system is a pretty typical capacity for one of these that was installed in the early 1900s, anywhere from 20% or less than 20% of what kind of the typical drainage capacity is recommended. And so traditionally we look at these in terms of drainage coefficient. So a lot of times we look at like a half-inch drainage coefficient or sometimes even larger for these districts. And ultimately included within here, we found that these tile are providing less than 0.2 of an inch drainage coefficient. So less than half, and sometimes as low as only a quarter of what the recommended would be. So not really a surprise, pretty typical for these old systems that were installed in the early 1900s. Just one other piece to touch on with the investigation is that we did not find really a lot of history records, and we did look through the history records that are available in Osceola County. Have not checked yet if there's any additional records in O'Brien County, but would like to do that. But in Osceola County, no real records beyond the original establishment as far as like any repairs or improvements or anything that had happened since then. So it appears that the district was established back in the early 1900s. I could pull up the exact year here off the top of my head. It was established in 1917, and then it appears that no major project or work has happened to the district since then. So maybe I'll just pause there since I've been talking for a while before I kind of talk about potential improvements and next steps. Is there questions that I can answer from the joint board about the initial investigation and findings?
Does the district, the way it's laid out now, does that pretty well represent the topography, or I guess is that the high spot on the red line going around that, or could any more of that, could that district be any bigger, or is it that's how it is?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, the next map here that we provided, which is just an elevation map, kind of shows a little bit in terms of color the district boundary. For the most part, we found kind of the original boundary of the district to align pretty well with what we expected it to be. But I will just add that when I was out there meeting with landowners, that they had noted that up north, beyond the northern edge of the district, up in Osceola County, it is fairly flat up there. While they believe, the area to the north of the district does drain to the north in a way, it would be possible that someone could have tried to tile, additional lands in. We don't have any documentation that happened or anything, but that would be a possibility because it is pretty flat up there on the north end. But for the most part, it appears that the watershed aligns pretty closely with what was originally established.
So you would recommend potential annexation of any further property?
Not without documentation that there was actually. So like if we did, find out that it was tiled in and we had documentation that it was tiled in, then yeah, maybe we would consider it. But at this time, not any significant annexation. Now, what we would need to do as kind of a next step in further investigation is review the assessment schedules that each county has on file to see which lands are currently within those assessment schedules. And then if there was any lands missing from those schedules, then those would obviously need to be considered for annexation as well in the future. Just kind of slowly moving forward here then, we did also include within the memo just 3 preliminary improvement options, and I just want to emphasize these are really just high-level preliminary options, and the intent of these is to kind of get some information for the landowners and get them thinking about what they might be interested in doing if they want to pursue an improvement to the drainage district. And so we focused primarily on the main tile and the branch 76 tile, since those are the primary outlets that are serving these areas that were petitioned for drainage relief. And so we provided kind of an option 1 for the main tile and branch 76 tile. For, I believe, option 1 was the half-inch coefficient. Let me just confirm that here. Option 1 was the half-inch coefficient, and then we also did provide just a higher coefficient, 3/4 inch coefficient for the main and branch 76 as well as option 2. And then we went ahead and included too just an option 3, which would be essentially improving all of the branches and sub-branches of the district. And that, really was more for informational purposes. We wouldn't recommend pursuing improvement of all those branches unless we heard from those landowners that they had, interest in doing so, or had drainage issues. So really to kind of address the petition and provide drainage improvement of, at least a portion of the main and branch 76 tiles would be needed. And so this was kind of our first high-level review of what some improvement options might be, and really looking at those as just a replacement of the existing tile with a larger. So the existing main, like just for example, for option 1, the existing main starts out as 28 inch and then ends at 12 inch. A proposed improvement would start out at a 42 inch main and then go to an 18 at the very top. Branch 76 starts out as a 16 and goes all the way down to 8. Proposed improvement would be a 30 inch all the way down to a 10. So really just taking those existing tiles and improving them, replacing them and improving them with a larger pipe to provide more drainage capacity for those lands. And so we also did include just high-level preliminary cost estimates for these. The costs are going to vary based on kind of which option is selected, but generally for these areas that would be benefited from the tile improvement, that cost could range from anywhere to $1,000 an acre to closer to $2,000 an acre if they did a larger improvement with more of the branches. And so that is, obviously a very high cost, but is kind of in line with what we typically see for these improvements pretty traditionally. So providing kind of these preliminary improvement options and these costs will give the landowners an opportunity to understand kind of the scope of the potential project and obviously what it would cost them, at least get a general idea. So I guess kind of on that note then, before I kind of move into what the next steps would be, I'll just kind of pause one more time and ask for any other questions on kind of some of the preliminary analysis and improvement options.
Well, in this, you talk about doing a hydraulic survey potentially to kind of get a better idea on that lateral. What would it cost to do that? In the ballpark?
Yeah, so what we had mentioned as kind of like further like future investigation would be, you know, if, so I guess maybe I should just preface this by saying we would recommend proceeding with any of this until we, you know, get input from the landowners and see if they do want to proceed with a project, kind of knowing what it might cost. But as part of the additional investigation, if we were to do a full report, would be doing some additional survey in the field of the district. We'd want to look at the open ditch, which is in the downstream end there, to ensure that it was in good condition and could take on the additional flow from an improvement. And then also, what we typically recommend is doing a little more detailed hydraulic modeling of the watershed. And primarily the reason for that is because a lot of times we can identify specific areas within the district that have either a need for improvement over others, or ways we can sort of fine-tune the design to save some costs. So like, for example, something else we mentioned as further investigation is doing what we call a multi-purpose drainage management plan, which is where we look at not just improving the drainage, but also doing other sort of like water quality best management practices within the district to try and help provide drainage outlet relief. And in doing so, we can actually, we've done this before and shown that we can save overall costs. So if we include like a best management practice, say as like a wetland in a location or a storage pond or something, we can actually decrease the size of tile needed and save costs there anyway. And so that's something that we will obviously want to talk about with the landowners and get their input on. Before we proceeded with, it's something that oftentimes can end up saving costs in the end. And really the cost of that will kind of vary. Like for the survey, I know we included within the cost estimate some survey costs. There's not, with a tile district like this, there's not, as of right now, a huge amount of survey that's needed. So you're probably just talking, you know, a few $1,000s of survey. But then in terms of like any of the modeling or anything like that would be included within the cost to do like a full engineer's report. And that's going to vary a little bit on what the scope of the watershed is. It's hard to say for sure right now without knowing kind of which tiles the landowners would want to investigate, because that will affect it. But it would be included within kind of the overall project cost that we've included there as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So then this basic management plan, like the retention pond, would the district have to purchase additional easement then to do this? Would soil and water be involved? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, the few that have been done previously, this is kind of a newer thing that we're trying to do more than Iowa. It's done quite often in Minnesota as well. But the few that have been done in Iowa, kind of a couple different ways. Sometimes the drainage district will, acquire an easement for that sort of practice. Other times the landowner will maintain the ownership of that land, and then they may have like a maintenance agreement with the drainage district for it. Or there's involvement with the soil and water conservation as well. So like, for example, if there was an easement to do like a wetland or a pond or something, a lot of times those easements will be held by the local soil and water conservation district if we did do that. And I would just add to that, these are all the types of things, conversations we'd want to have with the landowners as well, just to kind of gauge their interest in something like this, and if it's something they would be interested in pursuing any further.
Right.
Do you find it popular that farmers want to give up farmland, convert it into a wetland or a storage pond? I know they already have it, but
right, yeah. It's definitely hit and miss, and it is truly optional. If landowners are not interested in it, then they don't have to. But it's an option, and a lot of times when we can show that it can save costs on the construction, they may be willing to. Or if we can identify specific areas, that are, whether it's low quality farmland or a corner of a field or something, that certainly helps. To answer your question, obviously it would require some giving up some farmland to put into easement, and that sometimes is a non-starter for some folks, which is fine, but it is an option to consider.
Do we know offhand how many acres are county roads that would be involved? Because with this, where it's running in the ditch, is that going to be on the county dime for the assessment?
Great question. So I don't have the counties yet. We could look at the existing assessment schedules to see what's there right now, but we don't have those numbers quite yet. Obviously, it would be split too with Osceola and O'Brien, but we could definitely provide that. And then my other, recommendation is typically for those tiles that are existing, that are in county road right away, unless the county engineer and that county has a specific reason that they would want to keep those tiles in those road right away or utilize them there. If those need to be improved, typically most counties we work with will go ahead and improve them outside of the road right away, because obviously, if it was all in the right of way, then that would be all responsibility of the county roads when maybe they don't necessarily need it as an outlet or want it. So that would be definitely a discussion we'd want to have with the county engineer about what they'd like to see if any of those were improved. I guess the other thing I'll just mention is included within the cost estimates is preliminary estimates for the construction costs for the county secondary roads portions of any of these options as well.
Is there a way that the main line was overloaded enough that the BR 76 line would not be functioning? Are the elevations different enough, possibly, that, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's a definite possibility. That was actually something one of the farmers in the watershed mentioned to me as well, and they had asked that we also consider possibly just providing a separate outlet for branch 76 as an improvement option. So taking some of those acres off of the main might be a more cost-effective option. So that's something that we could definitely investigate. But I think, it's definitely possible as well that, the main is overloaded enough that the branch is just doesn't have an outlet itself, and that's part of the reason it's backing it up.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I guess just to kind of share, what might be best moving forward for the district is, really, I think, in my opinion, now is a great time to get the landowners involved and get their opinion and thoughts on the project moving forward. What do they are they interested in pursuing for an improvement? Are they interested in any of these other potential different types of, retention ponds or wetlands type things or not? Get input on improvement options and modify them based on landowner input. And so that was where one of the action items they proposed for today was consider setting an informational meeting with the landowners to be able to talk through some of this. The other thing I heard from the landowners I did talk with as part of this is that they would like to know more about the condition of the existing tiles before making a decision. And so what they had requested was that we consider televising or essentially putting a pipe crawler in some of these tile to get video of them on the inside and understand, are they generally in pretty good shape? Are they all cracked and failing? Or are they just blocked in a certain spot? And understanding that a little better. And they had requested that we would do that prior to having an informational meeting so that they would, be able to make a little more of an informed decision based on the existing condition. And so kind of how we typically handle this, just to save on some of the expense, is we look at kind of one of the more relevant facilities, the facilities we know that there's likely issues with, and start with that as a small bit of televising, just to get an idea of what it looks like. And then based on the results of that, if there's interest in doing more televising, we certainly can, but that usually kind of will at least tell a pretty good story about what's there. And so, in this case, knowing what we heard about Branch 76 from the landowners, I think it might make a lot of sense to try and do some televising of branch 76 existing tile to understand its condition a little better and make a little more of an informed decision about whether it just needs a repair or an improvement or whatever. And so that was what, talking with the landowners that I did talk to, they had agreed that made sense as kind of a first step as well prior to an informational meeting. And so what I kind of talked with them about as a proposed next steps moving forward is we actually, so I guess for O'Brien County, if you're not aware, we at ISG actually have a pipe crawler that we utilize for doing this type of thing and televising, and then we run our pipe crawler in the pipe, and then we provide videos and photos and a report of whatever we found in the tile. And we're actually going to be in the area doing a different project with Osceola County here on April 7th. And that won't take the whole day, so we could do a partial day of televising there. And then for the other part of the day, we could televise some of this branch 76 tile here on this project to save on some cost to double up on one day there. So it kind of depends on how much we were able to get televised, and the cost varies a little bit, but like our pipe camera typically costs, just the cost of the pipe camera is about 40 cents a foot to run through. But then we have obviously some of our labor costs for our operator that runs it as well. So I think we could, doubling up on a trip could get a good amount of branch 76 televised for, between $1,500 and $2,000. And I think that's probably a pretty cheap way to get a lot of information for the landowners ahead of a landowner meeting. So I guess knowing that, that would be kind of my recommendation is that the board considers approving doing some televising of that branch 76 tile. And we would tentatively plan to do that on April 7th if the board did wish to proceed in that way.
If we did that, the televising, when would you be able to be ready for an informational meeting, landowner meeting?
Yeah, great question. So actually, the great thing about our televising is that, our system kind of makes the reports immediately. And I talked with the landowners about potentially having a meeting before planting, and they had proposed April 8th as a time. And so if we did the televising on the 7th, we would have, those photos and videos ready for the next day to be able to show them what we found in there the next day. So that was going to be my proposed schedule was we could televise it on April 7th, and then if we wanted to have an informational meeting on April 8th, we could do it that way.
Where?
Well, I was just looking at what we had for a schedule that day.
Sure.
Yeah, I know we have a different thing with Osceola County earlier that day, and I think somebody said where. I mean, I think obviously at a minimum you're going to have some landowners there, so it makes sense to have the space for them, and then assuming at least one of the boards would be there in person, if not both. So I guess that would be kind of up to the board. I know in the past we've done meetings in Melbourne there I can't remember if it was the Legion or the community center there. That would be close by to the district and kind of a middle area. I would just throw it as a potential idea.
It'll probably have to be late morning or early afternoon. I have a meeting in the afternoon that day.
No, we have joint 3 drainage that morning.
The other thing I'll just add is that this is it would be an informational meeting, not a public hearing. So like in terms of notice requirements, we'll work with both counties to get notice, letters to the landowners and all that, but there aren't any specific like notice requirements or anything since it's just informational.
You got to send out postcards to them then? That's what we did on 4. Yeah. We need to get them out very soon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm but still, it should go out.
Would anyone consider like Thursday afternoon of that week, the 10th, instead of the 8th? That would allow us another cycle to get it in the paper if we wanted to use that approach as well, but.
Spencer, you're coming up on the 8th, right, at 8:30 for that joint 3 drainage, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have to be in person that day either, but I would be otherwise. But yeah, we do have a separate issue or a separate filing up in Osceola County that morning.
That works for me. That works for me. It looks like it works for O'Brien.
Is the afternoon of the 10th, is that what I was hearing?
Anytime the 10th, I think, here.
Okay.
And you're thinking Melbourne?
Yeah, that was just an idea I had. I mean, definitely whatever the joint board thinks, but I know that's kind of a close by and a nice middle ground.
They can get a TV screen and everything there.
I think we did the last.
Did we? I can't remember.
Yeah, Rochelle might have brought the TV screen last time, but I can bring a projector as well. So, you know, I don't know, Rochelle, would you be able to bring a TV screen if we did that? I could bring the projector and computer and all that.
Well, I thought we just used like a white screen.
Yeah, I think we
Before, I
did.
don't
But
think-
yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that I can be able to do, if you bring the projector and everything else. Mine.
So Spencer, you would be there then that day?
Yeah, yep, on the 10th. Yep, we'd do in person. Yep.
I mean, just from experience, I saw that after the meeting, then a lot of people come to the engineer and start asking questions.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely would be in person for that.
Okay. So what time?
I'm wide open as well. Yeah, I'm wide open as well, so I can do any time of the day.
They come take us out for lunch
maybe,
first
you know,
and then head to Melbourne, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say 1 o'clock, maybe right after lunch. Yeah, I don't know.
1 o'clock?
Is that of interest, you guys, or?
Sure. April 10th, 1 o'clock?
And at
In
the,
Melbourne?
Nobody's going, no.
and in the Legion, then I'm guessing in Melbourne, we'll have to reserve that to make sure there's no other stuff going on there. So, okay, I'll do that.
Yep.
I'll reserve that today. I'll talk to Craig.
Let us know if that doesn't work, and then
Okay.
we'll just plan on it unless that doesn't work for you.
So April 10th at 1 o'clock at the Legion in Melbourne.
You need motion or action on that, Spencer, or just by agreement?
I guess not officially. If the board doesn't want to take any motion, then you don't have to. Since it's just an informational meeting, I'll leave that up to the board. Otherwise,
Notify
yeah, I was gonna say, I'll work with both counties to make sure they get notification, and we can provide. It sounds like O'Brien, you have postcards you use. If you need help with anything on that, let me know. Otherwise, we can provide a letter too that we've used in the past. We have a template to send out, and then as far as like making sure we get all the landowners on the list, I can help coordinate that as well with both counties.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounded like there was interest in televising prior to that meeting. I would say that's something we should have a motion and approval of. Is there interest in that?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
On just BR-70? On just BR-70 or the whole six? 76, I mean?
I think we would, focus our efforts on branch 76 would be my recommendation. And I'm not going to say we would do all of it that day, but whatever we could get done would get us a lot of good information, so.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement here.
Motion?
With us likely spending money for that, I think a motion would be good.
Make motion
The motion states what? Motion by Schulte,
to televise.
Just branch
Just 76.
motion by Schulte, I'm sorry, was that Frederickson? Motion from Schulte, support from Frederickson, giving approval for televising branch 76 prior to the informational meeting. Any further discussion?
The only thing I would just add to that for the board's awareness is obviously we'll need to have someone with a backhoe to dig it up, and I did talk with the landowner and he was willing to coordinate that. But yeah, we'll just have someone there to dig up the tile with a backhoe.
You will coordinate that further?
Yes.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
I will abstain.
Abstention from Helmers. Anything further, Spencer?
Nope, so just want to confirm, we're at 1 o'clock at the Legion in Melbourne, and then if something happens with the not being able to reserve that, we'll obviously be in communication, but otherwise we'll plan for 1 o'clock on the 10th at the Legion in Melbourne.
You said we don't have to publish anything in the paper, or we can, or just send the notices?
You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. The only thing I would think is necessary is sending a letter to the landowners.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise that's all I had. I appreciate everyone's time this morning and looking forward to the 10th in Melbourne.
All right. With that, do we have interest in adjourning this meeting?
McDowell, motion to adjourn.
Motion by McDowell. Support from Loring for adjournment. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And we would again look to re-enter our meeting.
I'll make that motion to the meeting.
Second.
Motion by DeBoer, support from Loring to re-enter our regular supervisors meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Looks like we would be interest in discussion setting of public hearing date for the fiscal year 25-26 proposed budgets.
I'm looking at April 22nd at 9:15, because we already have a budget amendment at 9 o'clock that morning, so we need it at 9:15 on the 22nd. So I suggest.
We have a motion from Helmers for April 22nd at 9:15.
Second.
Support from Jeff Loring. Any further discussion concerning the public hearing date of April 22nd at 9:15? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have a date set. We would consider claims. Identify that claim 1553 is to Boswell Water Service. And I believe claim 1591 would be removed from the claims list, as that was covered under the pay app approval, or does that still remain?
It's still in there, the claims are being paid. Yeah, so kind of double approving it, I guess, I don't know.
I'll make a motion to pay those two Bosma water claims.
Second it.
Motion by Schulte, support from DeBoer for claim number 1553 to Boswell Water. I will abstain. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify with aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Same. Have the remainders in the bills to be paid.
I just have a question, and I know we can't have an answer, it's conservation. Bumgars and Mule Chase Lumber, wouldn't it be easier to just buy here local? Instead of driving to Sheldon and,
It depends on if it was, I'm assuming it was probably for
cabin.
I'm guessing, Neil Chase, and I've had that, our discussion with them about bum gardens and runnings for a long, long time, but they don't listen to me, so.
Geez, by the time you pay a guy to run down there and back, that's,
I'm glad you brought it up, Mike, I'll mention that again.
yeah. And Runnings is right below it, or on there too.
We get them all the time, runnings, bum gardens.
Yeah. We've got a hardware store that carries a lot of stuff.
Yes, we do.
I'm gonna send you the rest of the bill.
Mm-hmm. Well, he finally completed.
Oh,
He sent us a bill, but he didn't have everything completed.
okay.
And now that is, so. That's why he got paid.
I think most of the rest of the bills.
Support.
Motion by Schulte, support from Helmers for approval of the remainder of the claims. Any discussion? None. Those in favor of approval signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Any other, under other business?
I know. I'm just out of the loop here. These are all just to approve, like all drainage in his district. Sibley Sheet Metal is all done, putting the heating and cooling in, so, it's been working well. I haven't had any complaints, so, transition period, you know, for,
Rick would be glad to meet with anyone if they want to.
yep. He did, he said if there's any issues that we need to address, let him know and we will, you know, address it. But he said, you know, your growing pains are going to be in the spring and the fall. So,
Really?
You can flip the system before we have to wait for the order to be
Right.
done or
Yeah.
not done.
Yeah,
The-
initial all those.
yeah. It just, you know, the only thing is that one office can't have heat and the other office can't have
Those are
air.
drainage. I'm guessing drainage.
Those are all
Done
drainage.
that before.
And that's your
No, I know,
district.
right,
You're the only one that.
yeah.
That furnace wasn't that loud.
Or cut a check.
No, that furnace really wasn't that loud when it was running.
It's not too bad.
No.
There's a manual switch, if it's too loud, flip it off.
Yeah, other than that, it's been working well. So. Appreciate
More
all the help.
No, I
Right.
had trouble hearing Mike.
That one line is in our side of the ditch on the county line.
That parallel line that parallels the
No, it
county.
runs right in the ditch, right
Yeah,
along
but
the-
it's on the north side,
Yeah.
so it's in us, yeah. Yeah, if they want to improve that, I'd want it kicked out, so they're not responsible for the cost.
Just leave it.
Well, Brian's take on that was, no one votes for the most expensive option, so they're not gonna do it anyway.
We want be responsible for the cost of it.
I don't
Still
know.
be a district facility.
We are responsible for all crossings. We pay the cost of crossings in the right of way. So if you have a lateral line running in the right of way, I don't know, is that a gray area or do I get tagged with that cost too? Kicking it out of the right of way certainly answers the question for me.
The district's gonna face additional easement costs and I'm guessing through that then, but all we can do is do an agreement that it's district facilities with access.
I mean,
County
My
right away,
thumbs
but-
up, I got two for myself.
Don't know how it's put in. Maybe when it was originally put in, there might be some. It still exists. Most of what, like Spencer said, most of what we see with all the older districts is we see the initial engineer's report that established the pipe sizes and the depths and the map. That's all we have for our records usually.
Does O'Brien County have any of them running in the ditch?
They hardly
No,
have any
didn't seem
drainage.
like it. They have crossings, but none of them are parallel.
Well, there's one there that runs along the ditch, and there's also one that runs right down the closed road there.
Did we finally close that road?
Yeah.
I didn't
In
recall if we
O'Brien
actually
County,
took the action to close it or not.
Yeah. Well,
Last year?
That's a different one.
Oh.
This is in O'Brien County where
yeah, that is in
the
O'Brien
road is
County.
closed.
Oh, okay. The county line road that they want to close, we didn't do that,
I don't
did
think
we?
we took action on that. Which, what was the other thing Spencer was talking about that? The wetland, I don't think we ever formally approved the wetland agreement, did we?
You're off Highway 9.
Well, just in general for drainage districts, if we have to offset wetlands or if they agree to provide some land, I don't think we we've had it before us before, but I don't think we ever took final action on it.
Well, you're notarizing.
Just an adjournment?
Yeah, that's, I'm just a recommendation.
Motion.
Okay.
Support.
Motion by Loring, support from DeBoer for adjournment. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign.